Welcome in, everybody, to today's edition of Up the Archer, our final show of the year. Thank you for joining us. We are live on Cardiff Net Sport TV's YouTube channel today. As you all know, we're getting near the end of May. It's just about time for the summer. All the students, all the athletes here on campus are going back home with their families, going to the beaches for the summer, getting a good tan, as you can see with mine. Clearly, I need the same thing. That's a hint. So, we're excited, though, because sport never stops, as you all know, in this country. Sport never stops, regardless of it being the summer. The next event we have coming up, Birmingham, for the Commonwealth Games 2022, starting on July 28th. We're very excited. Today's a preview show for the Commonwealth Games. We'll take you through all the previews that you need to know about the Welsh national sides, all the different competitions that we have to get you ready for that games. This game's coming up this summer. First, what do we have on offer today? Coming up. Sevens this summer. Welcome back into the studio. Atticus Peed now joined by Caoimhe Hennigan. Caoimhe all the way from Ireland. Welcome in, everybody. Big round of applause for Caoimhe here on the couch today. Now, Caoimhe, thank you for joining us. We're thrilled to have you here.
No worries. How are you?
Life's good, life's good.
Good.
We are thrilled to have you because you are our inherent expert, shall we say. You're our expert about the Commonwealth Games this summer, telling us what to look forward to, what's going to happen. Those in the audience, don't be afraid. I know I'm American and she's Irish. We're none of us participating in the games, but that's okay. You've got plenty of research. You're ready to take us through it.
Yeah, I've learnt my facts, got all up to date and everything, what to expect this summer.
Now that I've set all this pressure on you, Caoimhe, take us away. What do we have to look forward to this summer, first and foremost?
Well, obviously, Commonwealth Games brings together nations in a colourful celebration of sport, and it's evolved dramatically since the beginning, where the first Games was hosted in Hamilton in Canada in 1930. Now, since 1930, the Games has grown significantly, originally starting with just 11 countries and just under 400 athletes. Now, it has now grown to a global spectacle which plays host to over 72 nations. Now, this year is expected to consist of 20 sports, where we'll play host to over 5,000 athletes coming to the city of Birmingham, as you said, from the 28th of July. Now, 11 days of nail-biting sporting events. Birmingham 2022 sees the Games return to England for the third time, the other two times being Manchester and London. And then we get to see the introduction of T20 cricket, which sees the women's game, the first form of cricket being introduced to the Commonwealth Games. And then also 3v3 basketball would take over for the original 5-player format that we're used to seeing so often on the court. Something a little bit different. Not many people are used to the 3v3s. They're all used to seeing 5s because that's what's in the Olympics. That's what's in America.
Strange,
for yourself, that's what's in America is the 5v5.
Sure.
So it's something a little different, 3v3. They only play with half court. So it's just a change of pace for the players. A lot quicker, I've been told.
Now, with you mentioning that, you mentioned the cricket, you mentioned the 3v3 basketball as well. Obviously, I know there's a lot of different sports they're trying to do here. Why all these different sports? I know we're going to talk in a moment's time about another sport as well, but what about all these different sports that the Commonwealth Games are trying to bring in? Why are they trying to change this so much?
I think it's just, when the Games was set up, it was aimed at just the sports that were associated at the time, and sport at the time was the typical ones that we know nowadays, that the go-tos, which is that your athletics, your gymnastics, diving, swimming, cycling, that's what everyone knew. And they were the ones that were the go-to sports when you're a kid. You play football, you play basketball, you do running, all then. That's what you go to first. I think now they're trying to just make the Games a little bit more inclusive and also veer away a little bit from what the Olympics is like, because Olympics is so focused on the traditional sports that this way it sort of reaches towards a younger audience, makes it a bit more inclusive, and it's something for everyone to watch, even if you're not in part of the Commonwealth like ourselves. Yeah. It makes it a bit more attractive for other people as well. Now, speaking of those new sports, we saw this quote today on the BBC from Chief Executive Katie Sadleir, who leads the Commonwealth Games. She mentioned that 60% of the population, 2.4 billion people or so in Commonwealth countries, are all under the age of 30. And those people, obviously, you want more interactivity, you want more audience growth. They're trying to bring in that audience, those under 30s, specifically you and I, to watch these games. What sports have they added to try to do that? But this year, as I said, the cricket and the 3v3 basketball have been added. But then nowadays it's done a little bit differently. So you have a list of specific sports that must be included. And that's actually getting shortened now. It's now just being turned into the aquatics and the athletics must be included. And then the rest is dependent on the host nation. And one that's getting more popular that host nations add is actually netball. Because it's not in the Olympics, and a lot more, especially in the UK, a lot of the younger kids, they learn it in school from a young age. It's like what we learn playing football.
Sure.
A lot of kids play netball over here instead. So
yeah.
I think that one will grow eventually to becoming a more permanent sport. For the moment, it is just added in as it's an optional one, but a lot of the countries who play Commonwealth it's one of their national sports.
Okay.
And then there's also a list of sports that they cannot be played in the games.
Yeah.
But they can be played in a tournament outside of the games and then still be called a Commonwealth tournament. They just cannot be played. They're on like a discontinued list is what it has been labelled, which doesn't sound very good for the sport itself. But it means it can still be played as a Commonwealth tournament, just has to be played earlier or at a later date, whichever they want.
Now, before we go, speaking of that, one sport we haven't mentioned yet that's a bit in that strange realm of it's a Commonwealth game, but it's not technically part of it, esports. Tell us about the esports that are happening this year.
Yeah, it's just something new. It's coming in alongside more so as a exhibition alongside the tournament this year. And there is a lot of talks in the hopes that it will be brought in as an actual sport from 2026. Last time we had an exhibition sport brought in was in the early 90s, in 94 and 98,
sure.
where para-athletes got to compete as an exhibition. And then from 2002, they were brought in as permanent members of the countries. And it means that they get to compete as athletes. They're not separated based on their disability from the team. It's just one team. It's awesome. Team Wales, Team England, Team Scotland, Northern Ireland, New Zealand, Australia. They're one team, para, able-body, all goes together.
Awesome.
They're not separated, debate whether you're able-bodied or not.
Awesome.
So hopefully it'll be something similar that can be brought into full form. And then get some younger people involved, different target audience I think esport is aimed at. But it's all about getting the inclusivity in the sports and in the games as well.
Awesome. Well, Quiva, thank you. We're very excited for these games this summer. Thank you for the summer you gave us. We're very excited to see all these new sports in action. Now, coming up, obviously these games are important. Just how important are they? We have an Olympian who went to Tokyo in 2020 to take us through his race and to tell us what he's able to do on the track, and also he's hopefully a future competitor at the games this summer. Take a listen to Joe Breyer's analysis.
Hello and welcome to our analysis room where we're here with Olympian Joe Breyer, who's looking to go to the Commonwealth Games. We've got a few clips of two of his performances here. He's going to run through stuff that he does in the race that could help him go. So take it away.
Yeah, so basically in 400 metre running, there's two ways to run the race. You either go out hard basically and try and hold on, or you go out quite conservative and then finish like a train and try and beat everyone. So I've got two examples of me doing that here. So the first clip is a prime example of me going out hard and then unfortunately not holding on. So I'm going to play it from here. So just here now. Going to zoom in on these two guys here.
Circle will do, yeah.
Circle, yeah, and zoom in on them. So there's about a metre between me and the Czech guy, and then another metre behind him to the Polish guy. So they're in good striking distance of me. And we're sort of coming around now to the last 100 metres of the race, and in my head I'm very weary of what's going on behind me, because I know my legs are starting to fall off, as you can see here. So there's about 20 metres left now, and you can see we're all in a line, basically, to me being 2 metres ahead. We're now all in a line. Yeah, I fall off a cliff basically, and the two of them come past me. So that was a bad example of how to run 400 metres. And so I obviously went back to my coach. We started chatting about different tactics. So I'm going to move on to the next clip here. So this was a race in Belfast that I did last year. The quick guys in the race are him. So I knew in this race I had to be quite conservative and get ahead and just bide my time while he came up on me. So I'm going to play it here. At this point, he's about a whole metre ahead of me at this point, and that's quite a lot in sprinting. But I knew that, I'd been training well, and applied a lot of pressure early. So it was at this point in the race then that I started to come back at him, using the energy that I'd managed to conserve at the start of the race. And with about 100 metres to go then, we are all in a line together in comparison to 100 metres prior. So at the 200 metre point, he was about a metre ahead of me. And then as we come through into the home straight, you can see here that I start to get a bit of an advantage and come through, and then I start putting a few centimetres on him. Then those centimetres turn into about a metre. And then towards the end of the race here, you can see that I'm about a metre ahead of him. And yes, those are two, different examples about how to run 400 metres. And over the years, I've learned that by conserving as much energy as possible, you will more than likely win the race rather than go out hard.
Thinking about it from a psychological point of view, when they come past you at the start there, where he was a metre ahead of you, do you panic at all? Do you ever think, I need to push it instead of just being patient?
Yes, I do sometimes,
Yeah.
but that's something myself and my coach have been working on over the past few years. It's just keeping a cool head.
Yeah.
So in the first clip, I panic a bit when I look when I see on the big screen that they're only about a metre ahead of me, and I know I'm working hard. But in this clip here, which is after that race, I then keep a cool head and trust that I'm quite fit.
Yeah. And do you have any news about going to the Commonwealth or selection or anything yet, or do you know when that selection is going to be made?
So the selection is on the I believe it's the 25th of May. So hopefully, fingers crossed, in about a week's time, I'll get a nice phone call. But it's a waiting game now.
Definitely. Well, thank you very much. Very interesting stuff, and obviously you did well on the analysis as well. So thank you very much. We'll take it back to the studio.
Welcome back into the studio. Thank you, Joe. We'll be excited to have him on the show later with us today. Believe me, I'll be asking him about that race. I want to see some medals from Joe coming up in the Commonwealth Games this summer. Now, from one elite athlete to another, please welcome into the studio, everybody, Alf Dinney. Big round of applause for Alf. Thank you for joining us on the couch today.
Thanks for having me.
Now, I know ahead of the Commonwealth Games this summer, I know you're hoping to be a part of that Wales squad. You were part of the last team that went to the Commonwealth Games in 2018, right?
Yeah,
so this would be your second if you can make it. I wanted to ask you first and foremost about the selection process. Do you know, are you already selected for the team?
No, so we don't know the squad yet. We're currently in our sort of training camps and whatnot leading up to the games. I think selection's due to be finalised sort of later in June. So they want to hold it as long as possible to make sure the squad's looking in the best shape, and there's no injuries or anything hampering it. But we won't find out for another month or so. So we've got a lot of some intense training and match play to come between now and then.
Do you think holding off, because that's a late selection, I mean that's just maybe a month before the games, a little more, does that affect negatively or positively on the players? Does this make everyone work a little harder, try to get to the team, know that more people have a chance than maybe if they told you months ago? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's sort of a delicate balance, isn't it, of sort of picking the team that's going to perform best at the games and achieve what we're looking to do, but then not at the same time keeping it settled and driving that competition for places. So I think it's probably later than a lot of sports, and equally a lot of the individualised sports where they've got to meet criteria to get there. They might know a lot more in advance and they got a bit bigger run in to go for it. But hopefully it'll work out for us.
Let's hope so. Now, obviously, 2018, you went to Australia to the Gold Coast 2018 tournament. You were part of that field hockey squad. Obviously, that team, I think you guys finished in the bottom of your group and then won the 9th place game against South Africa there. Does that performance have an impact on what you see for Wales as this competition in Birmingham? Does the team want to perform better? Do you guys believe you can perform better than that? I'm curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I think well, you've obviously done your research there, but so the last games we went in as the one of the bottom ranked teams. Since then we've progressed up the rankings quite dramatically. So I think we've talked about there's scope we could do something. We've got a tough group. We've got India and England, two of the top ranked teams, and always going to be difficult. And then we've also got Canada and Ghana in there, who we'd like to think we can be looking to get results from. So doing the business in those two games, and then looking to pick up any points from the England and India game, and we could be in the shout with a sort of a semi-final spot. So we've definitely set our sights a lot higher this time around. but yeah, looking for any if we can. So we're certainly not aiming to come bottom of the group again. Yeah.
Fair enough. Now, I'm curious about that. You mentioned the rankings that Wales has progressed through in the past 4 years. Those rankings that you talk about, how does the team improve those rankings? As a casual fan, I think you watch the games, you know, okay, Wales is good this year. We're looking to do better in this competition, things like that. But what have you seen Wales do in the past 4 years that's made them shoot up those rankings? And for you, like you just mentioned, expect the team to perform better here. What have you guys done?
Sure. So, yeah, generally, the ranking points traditionally always came from major competitions. So for us, the European Championships, which happen every 2 years, the Commonwealth Games, and then other sort of major tournaments. They've had a sort of open series or world leagues of sorts where they have different classifications of teams from across, generally regionalised to your continents. But playing various tournaments throughout the year to pick up ranking points, and then more recently in the last couple of years it's actually approached more similar to like football and rugby union, where you get ranking points game by game. So any test match series that you do, depending on the quality of the opponents and the result of the fixture, there's opportunities to pick up that ranking points there. So we've played a lot more higher quality opposition in the last couple of years, including the European A division in 2019 and then 2021. We've managed to pick up lots more ranking points through there and progress, I think, around about 10 places from like sort of in the 20s to up to like 15th now. So
awesome. Well, thank you for your time today. Before you go, you're confident you're making this team? Don't mean to put you on the spot, just curious.
Not confident. I'd say I'm confident that the team that goes will be the best one that we could put there.
Awesome.
I'm in with a shout and hoping to get in there.
Awesome. Well, Alf, we hope you make it there. Thank you very much for joining us here today. Yes. Now, if you're able to make it there, Alf, we do have a bit of a view. Jo Penrose, our correspondent over at the Team Wales Hotel out in Birmingham, she'll take us through what it looks like there on the scene. Jo, take us away.
Thanks, Atticus. Yes, I'm here in Birmingham at the Edgbaston Park Hotel. Well, that is its former name. In July, it will be the Team Wales Hotel. This will be the main hub for the Team Wales athletes, their friends and their family. They'll be able to enjoy time together here, eating food, chatting, getting to relax a bit after their events. And also it'd be a great place for those of us on the media team to gather interviews, podcasts, all sorts of things during the games. Unfortunately, I can't show you downstairs where our main base will be at the moment, as there is an event going on. But it's a really, really beautiful hotel. It'll be a lovely place for us to hang out with the athletes, with the families, with the coaches, with everyone. And there's only 71 days, 8 hours and about 28 minutes till the opening ceremony, so we're not far away now. It's really crept up so quickly. A few dates before the actual game starts on the 28th of July, that's the opening ceremony. That will happen about 20 minutes drive from here in the Alexander Stadium. But a couple of key dates before then, early next week will be the para-athlete team announcement. So be watching out for that, and then in early June will be the full Team Wales announcement. So one for your diaries, early June, be watching out for that. And then mid-June will be the kit distribution. All the athletes will get kitted up, suited up, ready for the games, ready to look their best. And then the end of June will be the Queen's Baton Relay, which will be the final main event before the start of the Commonwealth Games. There are still a number of tickets available for many of the sports at the Games, so do get along and be supporting Team Wales during that July period and that early August period. Just can't wait to be there. It's going to be so much fun. I hope to see a number of you there too. Right, back to you in the studio.
Well, thank you, Jo. We're excited to send the athletes there to their hotel for Team Wales this summer. An incredible looking place. Should be an incredible location for Wales to win some medals, I'm sure. Now we're joined back in the studio now. Kira Davis, head of netball here at Cardiff Met and team manager for the Under-21 Celtic Dragons team. Round of applause, everybody, for Kira today. Thank you for joining us. We're thrilled to have you here.
Really nice to be here. Really nice to have the opportunity to talk about my sport.
Now, speaking of your sport, speaking of netball, you as the head of netball here at Cardiff Met and then the team manager, of course, the Celtic Dragons, you see a ton of female athletes. We have a ton of people here on the campus who have mentioned tons of female athletes play netball. Lots of them know you. They respect and love you as a coach. So I'm curious, ahead of the Commonwealth Games this summer and of competitions like this, How do you as a netball coach judge these players? How do you judge their talent and their performance ahead of games like this and this Commonwealth Games this summer? What are you most looking out for in a player to select them for a big competition like this?
So obviously every coach kind of sees things in a different way. We're all very subjective, I suppose. Here at Cardiff Met, whenever we go through a trial period, we always say attitude is worth more than talent.
Yeah.
And I think that does follow through into international representation as well. We have got a lot of girls that represent Wales at under-21s, and we've got a couple in the senior squad that are crossing their fingers that they get selected for the Commonwealth Games this year as well. We always try and find a fine balance between individual skill level, but also the ability to work with others, the ability to slot in, even how they act on the bench and how they act as a substitute, or maybe as someone who just misses out, how do they react to maybe not being selected but still part of the squad on the run-up to competition as well. So it's not just picking the best 12 players to be part of the squad, it's the best 12 individuals on and off the court that will make a team successful.
Okay. Now, speaking of those best individuals, we're curious here about Susie Drain and players like her. Are you looking for her to potentially make the jump to this Commonwealth Games or anything like that for the Wales future here?
So Susie has got bags of experience, competed in many World Cups, Netball Europes. She's been a Celtic Dragons player, she was captain for years, and she's now co-captain with Nia for Wales at the moment.
Yeah.
Obviously the Commonwealth Games squad hasn't been announced, but from our perspective, Susie has been our first team coach for years. This is the first Bucks season that we've been without Susie, and she did have a massive impact here. She was also a student here and competed here. She was part of the squad that won the Bucks title a couple of years back as well. So she has been seriously influential for netball here in Wales and a massive driver for female sport. My opinion is Susie will most likely be in that squad. She is seriously influential, and like I said, on and off court, she is a very good leader, whether she's on the bench, on the court, within her unit, even away from the netball court in total, she's a great person to be around. So will definitely be a driver for Wales. I'm
curious about that you mentioned, the driver, that driving force. I want to ask about that because netball is obviously not in the Olympics. It's only in the Commonwealth Games.
Yeah.
And I see you smile at that. It should be, I'm guessing. Should be in the Olympics.
Yeah, I think the only thing that's holding us back at the moment is netball is seen as predominantly a female sport.
Yeah.
We never have any rules that men aren't allowed to play netball, and
really?
It's actually quite infuriating that men are usually really good at netball as well. But yeah, we always try and push and have mixed tournaments here in university. England has made a massive push to make an England men's team.
Really?
Australia and New Zealand, they're putting a massive push on it as well. I know up in North Wales they're starting kind of men's netball sessions. Yeah. So I think once we can cross that bridge for it being male and female sport, it should be in the Olympics anyway, but then we won't have an excuse to leave it out.
Now, obviously, it's not there yet, hopefully getting there.
Yes.
But ahead of the Commonwealth Games and a competition where there is a netball tournament happening, is this the kind of thing where netball players know this is the best opportunity for them to get on the national stage, or is there some other competition that I think, or in your eyes, would be better than this?
I would say the Commonwealth Games and the World Cup probably sit on par with each other. Wales were really unlucky not to qualify for the World Cup last time. Yeah. We are in kind of a region of the world which is very competitive for netball, and we have to play the home nations to be able to qualify. We have luckily qualified for the Commonwealth Games. We came 11th last time, so I think they'll definitely look to do better this time. But yes, I would say they sit on par. There's very similar teams that compete in both, but they're definitely going to be gunning for a higher place than 11th from last time.
Yeah. Now, we've got about 30 seconds. I want to ask you, who do you think is going to win the Commonwealth Games this year in netball? Who do you like, first and foremost, looking at it? You can say Wales if you want. I'm just curious.
From a Welsh perspective, I'd really like them to do well, and I think they deserve to do well. The squad that they've got, and the mix of players they've got in there, they should really be pushing for like top 8 at least, maybe even top 6. But I loved the last Commonwealth Games between England and Australia, the final. England won by a goal. It's the only sport where I don't completely hate England. So
bold right there.
I love the Super League players. I love watching the Vitality Super League throughout the year. So I do have a little bit of affinity to England. I think they will definitely push. But Australia always look good. South Africa always look good. Jamaica always look good. New Zealand are always up there.
Yeah.
I think it'll be obvious who end up in the semi-finals, but I think it's between Australia, England again, I think.
Awesome.
And you're going to hold me to that now as well.
Definitely will, believe me. Well, Kira, thank you for your time today. Good luck in the summer and going ahead, obviously, with all the roles you have in netball. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, ahead of the games this summer, undercover Olympic athlete Joe Breyer taking us the news. Joe, what news do we have ahead of the Commonwealth Games this summer? Take us away.
This is Perry, the mascot of the 2022 Commonwealth Games. Perry the Bull is meant to represent kindness and strength. His patchwork is very unique. The multicolour hexagon symbolises all the communities of the Commonwealth. Meet table tennis's Anna Hersey. She has been included in Wales' team for the 2022 Commonwealth Games. She's just 15 years old, and this is her second Commonwealth Games. Hersey was only 11 when she became the youngest athlete to compete at the Games in Gold Coast in 2018. Adam Peaty has said he is devastated that he may miss out of this year's Commonwealth Games after breaking his foot. It is unclear how he got this injury, however it has prevented him from defending his 3 world titles after being ruled out of the World Aquatics Championships in Budapest. Peaty says that this is a career first and a new challenge. He is hopeful that he will be fit for the Games. For the first time ever, esports will be included as a pilot event at the 2022 Commonwealth Games. However, there is hope that in the 2026 Games, esports will be part of the full programme. The goal for the inclusion of esports is to engage and draw a younger audience to the Games. There has been slight backlash about this, but the Commonwealth Games Federation Chief remains open-minded. Finally, Reckitt has been announced as an official partner of the Birmingham Games. While their Dettol brand is supporting athletes with hygiene such as sanitizer and disinfectant products, the other brand is Durex and is providing athletes with 100,000 condoms at the Games.
Well, Perry the Bull, a bit of an odd mascot, but we're really excited to see great representation all around by England, attempting to get all the countries in as best they can ahead of the Commonwealth Games this summer. Now, Blake Brown will join us from the Cardiff Met's NIAC, National Indoor Athletics campus, with our track. Blake, joining us here on the camera. Blake, how are you down there?
Hi Atticus, thanks for that. Yeah, I'm just outside NIAC at the moment. Our school sport day is just finished off here, so it's pretty busy. But I've been speaking to athletes throughout the day, and a lot of them are excited and anxious to wait for the Commonwealth decision, especially for Team Wales, to see who goes on the 25th of May. I spoke to quite a few of them, and some of them have they're quite interested to see who can go. But I spoke to one individual, James Ledger, who I caught up with earlier.
Well, let's take us away. Show us that interview we had with James earlier today.
You've been to the Commonwealth Games before, you've been to the Gold Coast. How was that experience for you, and how did that differ to any competition you've been to before?
Yeah, no, Blake, it was a fantastic, opportunity to represent Team Wales at Gold Coast, and put on that red vest. It was most certainly like no other competition I've been to, and from a para perspective as well, it's the only competition that's merged together with the non-para side. So, that was a huge experience, and bar the Olympics and Paralympics, it's the second biggest multi-sports event there is. So, for me, it was a huge personal goal that I wanted to represent Wales at the Commonwealth Games, and I did that.
Amazing. As you said as well, just how special is it to put on that Welsh vest, and how much does the Commonwealth Games mean to Wales as a nation?
I think Wales really does punch above its weight, and we're a very proud, passionate nation, especially about sport, and generally we're very passionate people, and we want to showcase what we got in Wales, not just in sport but all culture and everything. So I'm really proud to represent Wales. I'm a Swansea boy through and through, so it was a real honour and real privilege to do that.
Ledge, you've been training hard, you've been putting in some solid effort with McCoy early on in the season. You've already competed out in the World Para Grand Prix in Dubai. It's been a decent start. How do you think training's going for you at the moment?
Yeah, do you know what? I'm really happy with how the season's gone so far. It's very early doors, but last year I changed classifications from a T12 to a T11, which for me emotionally is very much a roller coaster. Finding out my sight was getting worse it was hard, but I'm still able to do what I love. and that's the main thing. And I've got a guide running McCoy Campangeli, who's based in Loughborough, and it's been fantastic. Like, we've just merged together, and the chemistry and what we have is good. We ran in Dubai, came second in a very good international field, and we came back to sunny Coventry and broke the British record for the T11 classification over the 100. So yeah, I'm really happy with how the season started, and I'm just excited to see what we can do this year, and going ahead to next year, World Championships in Paris, and then the big one in 2024.
Amazing. Thank you, Ledge. Best of luck.
Thanks so much.
Now, Blake, I'm curious. James mentioned there that he's changed his classification from a T12 to a T11 as a parallel sprinter. What does that mean? Could you talk us through that?
Yeah, so James Ledger, he's competed before as a T12 runner, and basically what that means is he's got basically 5% vision, so he's got a disadvantage straight away, but he runs as a single run in the T12 category, but what's changed is recent, as he mentioned, his eyesight is debilitating ever so slightly, so now he's going to the T11 category. So what that means is he now runs with a guide runner and a blindfold, so he's teamed up with Welsh runner McCoy Campangeli, and the pair of them have been trained together since the start of the season. Now, I've seen them develop together, and they've really bonded well, and literally everything you see, they're in sync, and you need that as a guide runner, you need that as a good partnership, and the difficulty of that is, of course, is you need to start running with a different stimulus. What you're so used to running with that 5% vision disadvantage straight away is you're kind of all over the place, your balance is up and down, and when you've got someone else helping you, you've got to match their rhythm, you've got to change your running completely. And as he mentioned as well, it's an emotional roller coaster. It's a lot to take in to be able to harness all that together and try and perform at top level as well. But I think he's done really well. He went out to Dubai, came back to Coventry, broke the British record, so he's definitely in a good shape.
Now, speaking of para-athletes out there, 2018, the Gold Coast was the largest para competition ever. Tons of competitions, tons of athletes there in Australia. What does that mean for Birmingham? Are they trying to do something even bigger here in England this season? Or what do you think we should expect to see for Commonwealth Games and para sport this summer, Blake?
Yeah, I've had a look at some of the sports that they've introduced. One in particular, I've seen the wheelchair basketball, the 3v versus 3. And I think just having sports like that provides a platform for these para-athletes to compete. Again, what James Ledge and a lot of the other para-athletes say, it's a great chance for them to have sort of a mini Olympics, really. They get out there, they get to wear their vest. There's other great athletes out there to look out for. You've got Alan Davis as well, who's so important for Wales, always goes to a Commonwealth and get medals, went to the Gold Coast as well. You've got Holly Arnold as well, you've got up-and-coming Olivia Breen as well. You've got a numerous amount of athletes who are going to represent Wales and, come with some medals. And I think it's amazing that they get to share that with just everyone, the mixture of para-athletes and everyone else. It's a chance for them all to get medals.
Now, one last question before you go, Blake. Do these athletes already know that they're in the competition in the Commonwealth Games this summer, or are they all going to be selected at a later date?
Yeah, so I've heard that there's a provisional date of the 25th of May. That's kind of the big day. That's what we're all waiting for. That's kind of, no one really knows any solid sort of places yet for anyone, para-athletes or anyone else. All the Welsh athletes are just waiting for that date. And I guess a lot of the athletes now, the preparations is just continue going as they are, keep heading towards the season as though if they are getting selected or not. It's just about keeping your head down, training hard, and kind of not to really think about it too much. You've got to focus on your performances and just think about the season ahead. And if you get that phone call from the team to say that you're going to the Birmingham Games, I think that's just amazing.
Awesome. Well, Blake, thank you for joining us live from Cardiff's Nyack track. Thank you. Good luck this afternoon. And we'll go from Blake over all the way to the banks of South France, where Rob and Griff, our rugby correspondents, are on the ground for the World Series Rugby 7 competition. We'll see how Wales is coming on ahead of their competition in the Commonwealth Games this summer. Rob and Griff.
So me and Rob are out here in Toulouse. It's quite sunny, it's quite hot. I need to get some sun cream on, to be honest. But it's a big week for Welsh rugby in the Sevens. I believe they've got 3 tournaments really to save their journey this year in the World Rugby Sevens. And Rob here has been on many of the Sevens competitions this year. Rob, how's this year gone for the Welsh 7 teams?
Yeah, look, it's been a difficult year, especially since the split of GB. As we said, GB split into England, Ireland and Wales, and I think of all those teams, Wales have probably struggled the most, just because the group of players is small, but they've got a lot of talent in there. Obviously, I'd be confident, and I'm sure Richie Pugh, the manager's confident that they can stay in this competition and do well in the Commonwealth, which is coming up not in a couple of months.
Yeah, we're talking about the Commonwealth. It's in about 71 days now. What do you think Wales need to improve on maybe and go into that competition? Because obviously playing as a Welsh team in the Commonwealth, they've got a better chance maybe because the US aren't there. What do you think they need to change going into that one?
Yeah, like you say, without the USA, it's just always a benefit. They're very exceptionally good at sevens. And in terms of Wales, they can just focus on using they've got fast wingers. I said Lloyd Lewis, a great player and very quick as well. And I think using the talents they've got, they should be okay. There's definitely some new players as well that I think they can look to try and drag them through in this competition. And then when it comes to the Commonwealth, I think we'll be good.
I'll let you take the reins, Rob.
Yeah, will do. So I'm going to take the reins now. I'm going to give you an idea of how the background goes on in these kind of competitions, what makes the graphics work, and when you're watching these kind of broadcasts, what actually goes on behind the scenes. Joining me is Ashley Lee from A Live. Ashley, it's your first kind of interview, mate. Normally you're behind the scenes. Just give me an idea of what you do at this competition.
Well, there's a team of about 8 or 7 of us. We're from all corners of the globe. We collect stats live and show it on TV. We try to make stars. We try to introduce or storylines, just to bring some entertainment for the fans.
Yeah, so for you, it's just about bringing that little bit of extra entertainment, a little bit of context, and giving a bit of background from previous competitions as well.
Yeah, I think the game needs stars, and that's our job, is to create stars. We do that with stats, we do that with milestones that they have. So yeah, we really are assisted by the team that we have, and yeah, we love what we do.
Great stuff. And you mentioned that the team is from all corners of the world. You yourself have travelled a long way, but like I say, everyone in the team is from all different cultures and backgrounds.
Yeah, we have a graphics outputter from Hong Kong. He's based in Singapore and he's been flying in and out. Well, during COVID there's been some restrictions, but now COVID's gone, we have everyone on site. We have you two beautiful lads from Wales to help us, and that's been amazing. And then most of the team, the core team's from New Zealand, and we have another statistician, our top statistician, from Australia.
That's great stuff, mate. And you're all set up today, ready to go?
Yeah, well, today's our first rig day. We just got to the stadium, just testing everything out, but everything looks pretty good.
Great stuff, thank you very much. So then, guys, the tournament isn't far away. I hope you're enjoying the show back home, and that's all from Toulouse. See you soon.
Now, Rob and Griff, thank you both. We're excited to have you guys both join us live from Toulouse in France today. You guys explained that obviously Wales needs to do better in this competition and ahead of the Commonwealth Games this summer. What else do they need to do to qualify for the Games? Are they already qualified? What else do they need to do as a rugby team?
Hi Atticus and everyone there, thanks for having us. Je ne parle pas français, so we are going to try and do this in English. Apologies for the boring background, but the teams are here, they're in the hotel. Wales included are just around the corner. We've already seen some of the coaches offering last minute advice to the players. It is very much game time here in Toulouse. In terms of what Wales can do, it's getting to those individual players and saying, look, decision making is going to matter, and look, trust yourselves, use that pace on the wings and do what you can to get a result, because these final 3 games are the biggest games of the year, because it's going to be the difference between staying in the competition and ultimately being relegated.
Now, you guys have obviously been around the Wales team in the hotel for the past few days, and obviously you'll be on the pitch next to them tomorrow. How confident are both of you that Wales can pull this off? I know it's been a struggle with the Six Nations this year and other competitions. What can they do?
I'll be honest, we're not in the same hotel as the Wales team. We're in the same hotel as, I think it's England, Ireland and Scotland. But from seeing some of the lads around Toulouse, I think they're a bit nervy, I'm going to say, because it's do or die, really. They need to get some results. But as Rob said, they just need to stay composed. They've got the quality. They've got the players in the squad. We've seen a try that went worldwide, global, on Twitter a few weeks ago from Sean. So I'm sure he's going to be a player to look out for. But yeah, it's going to be a serious competition for Wales this time of the Sevens.
Now, I'm curious for both of you. You just mentioned a bit of the tension that Wales can feel. Is that tension permeating the entire camp? Can you guys feel that just for Wales, or the other teams? Do they feel the same way? I'm curious. What do you guys see out there?
Well, in terms of the tension, I think everyone's quite relaxed at the moment. All the teams here. In our hotel, we've got the England, Scotland, Ireland, Canada, South Africa, Spain and French women. So we've got quite a few here, but they're all quite relaxed today.
Yeah.
But I'm sure we'll see the clothes come out. What do you think, Rob?
Yeah, in terms of the build up to the tournament, it normally is quite relaxed, and then game day hits and the tension really builds. It's a bit easier for the women. They know who've won their tournament. They've actually got an awards dinner while we're here. It's kind of a celebration. But as we said, for the Wales boys especially, and the men's tournament as a whole, it's very much still game time, and like you say, do or die. They'll back themselves, but we'll have to see what happens, and we'll keep you informed on how it goes.
Robin Griff, thank you very much for joining us live from France. Have fun, enjoy the rest of the tournament. Hopefully Wales do well and qualify for the Commonwealth Games. Now, as an American myself, I didn't know a whole lot about the Commonwealth Games, I'll admit, before coming here to the United Kingdom. We have a fellow correspondent, Rhys Jones, as part of our group, who is also an American, and he, ladies and gentlemen, has gone across the campus undercover to understand who actually knows what are these Commonwealth Games things. Ladies and gentlemen, Rhys Jones, take us away.
I'm Rhys Jones with Cardiff Met Sport TV. I am American. I have never watched the Commonwealth Games. I know absolutely nothing about it. Let's see if anybody else does. Come on! Hello, team. How are you? Do you guys want to? Can we ask you some questions? Just of the basketball community here at Cardiff Met, Tom Guntrip and Rebecca Ganley. Yes. Jens, do you guys know anything about the Commonwealth Games? Some questions. No. No, because as you can tell my accent, I'm American. I also know absolutely nothing about the Commonwealth Games. Sir, I've got a question or two for you.
My name is Rodri. I work at the King Court reception at the Cardiff Metropolitan University.
Where is Commonwealth Games taking place this year?
So this year the Commonwealth is going to be taking place in Birmingham.
London. Madrid.
Birmingham.
Correct answers. Ding, ding, ding. What is the population of the Commonwealth? 1.1 million, A. B, 500,000. C, 2.4 billion.
2.4 billion.
1.1 million.
Yeah, 1.1 million.
What up?
Yeah.
1.1. A.
2.4 billion.
C, yeah.
2.4 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2.4 billion.
Yeah.
India.
C.
See, we have some academics at this table.
C.
Ding, ding, ding. C, correct answer. How many countries compete in the Commonwealth Games?
8.
32. 32.
Let's say approximately between 20 to 30 countries.
25?
25.
80.
25. 12. I don't know.
Let's say 25.
Yeah, I'm going to go 22.
In all the countries? It's like 50, I don't know.
32.
68.
Oh, 70. 70.
72. What a shout. Unbelievable. Commonwealth Games takes place every 2, 4, or 6 years.
I believe it's 4 years.
4. Correct answer. How many volunteers are helping out at this year's Commonwealth Games?
Given the scale, I'd say about almost 200,000 volunteers.
4,000.
2,400.
5,000.
6,000?
13,000 volunteers. There you go. I know literally nothing about the Commonwealth Games, so I'm learning here. What is the mascot for the Commonwealth Games this year? A, a rainbow snail. B, a patchwork cow. C, a multicolored lion.
I'd say A.
Rainbow snail?
Yeah, rainbow snail. Multicolored lion. Multicolored lion.
Multicolour lion.
Yeah, multicolour lion.
C.
Multicolored lion?
Yeah.
Lion.
Lion?
B.
Patchwork cow?
Sure.
Obviously definitely got to be C. I mean, if it's not C, I'm flabbergasted.
I'm going to go C after that.
It's the cow. I want it to be strong.
Is it a cow or a bull?
The question that I've got is a cow. Yeah?
The cow, but I would like it to be the snail.
A patchwork cow. I'm Rhys Jones. I knew nothing about the Commonwealth Games before this started. I still don't know anything about the Commonwealth Games, but neither does anybody else.
Well, I got to admit, I didn't know it was a bowl either myself. But regardless, now I do know something about the Commonwealth Games after our show today. I'm very excited to be a part and watch those games this summer. July 28th, join us in Birmingham. We'll be watching the games there live on the BBC. Thank you all for joining us throughout this year. This is our last edition of Up the Archer for this year. Thank you very much for joining us throughout all of our shows. If you'd like to be a part of our program this coming year, take a look at our following video before we go off the air for the final time. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy the weekend.
Julep.